Hello, my lovely Facebook friends. How are you? I am, you know, I am just hanging out. My sweet girls have not been feeling well, and so I took Indy to the doctor today, and then there was like a fire, and it was smoky, and I got a headache, and just whatever, right? Okay. But I just wanted to get on here and just spread love and I just want to talk about the divide that I see between, people and how unfortunate, I mean, it's more than unfortunate, but it's just sad because these situations that are happening could be viewed in several different ways, and it seems like the like the most popular way that it's being viewed is through this lens of division. And I highly doubt that there are people who are like arguing. Like, I think people get in these weird defensive modes and they start arguing little bits and pieces that they feel really strongly about, but then it ends up like little bits and pieces about maybe having an opinion about Charlie Kirk's um, his opinion, having an opinion about his opinions. And I think because, people find things that they're against, it comes out in this like more generalized way and it just creates more division. And so I see it as it's that unfortunate thing. It feels like we are pawns in a game of chess, and like I took a step back a while ago. I feel like I've been, I tend to get a few more concentrated type people in my, surroundings, my vicinity. But I don't know if this is coming out right. I'm feeling like I want to help people understand each other and so that they can get along. And I'm also feeling defensive because like I get this like feedback like there's something wrong with me, and it's not like verbal feedback, it's like people's reactions, um facial features or the lack thereof. A lot of it is the lack thereof, and so it just kind of leaves me wondering like why, um and so then I start feeling defensive because I'm like, why are people in my life who are supposed to be supportive and stuff, like why are they acting in certain ways? And um, like I personally got into a funk of like um, self anger. I don't want to say self hatred because I don't want to acknowledge that kind of thought, but like I got distracted by this thought of, everything being my fault, and so, I'm coming out of that. I've had to spend a lot of time like putting pieces together, and it's a really, it's a really sad conclusion. And like as I've come to this conclusion, the responses I've gotten from people who should be supportive are absolutely not supportive. And then that leaves me thinking like, I don't know, like I start wondering, like I just feel like I've been, maybe an easy target for a long time. Maybe I put myself in situations that left me vulnerable to being an easy target, or, you know, being, I don't hate to use the word, but like a scapegoat, like maybe I just kind of put myself in a position where it was easy to say like, oh, well, it's her fault, and, so like, that's on me. Um, but like I just don't understand. I don't understand how things work. I don't understand if like suggestions that I've heard bear weight. Like, am I being excluded or have I been excluded from, like family inheritance and there's like like a reason or a motive for family members to treat me differently because of something like that. Like I don't want to. I don't want to accept that. But I'm also like, uh, heard it a few times, and so I'm starting to feel like maybe I should speak up. And since like most people in my life have gone separate ways, and I just wonder, who do I ask? I don't know. And I started going to meetings, and so thought the positive thing, and I know I will gain more like supportive and consistent people again, like I had, and it's my bad for feeling, letting my feelings get hurt or feeling like abandoned or stuff like that when, like I also knew where to go, like where to meetings and stuff for help, and I'm gonna do what I know how to do, and that's just speak on it and go to meetings and just say how I'm feeling, and just and just saying, like that, I'm hurting and that I have a chip on my shoulder, and but that I want to go back to a place in life where I, like feel like people trusted me, and I don't feel like I'm not trustworthy. And so that's the part that really hurts is that I'm not a worse person because I haven't been going to meetings, and I feel like I'm getting to a place where like I have to go because if I don't, then I'm not gonna get people's like respect, and so I'm really struggling with that right now because my inner, my inner sovereignty is, like that. It shouldn't matter. Like I shouldn't feel like I need to do that, because it reminds me of like having, to do things for people's acceptance or love. I'm really stuck because like I escaped that world, I escaped that world and I was doing so good. I was doing so good, and it was like I remember 2016, and I was like hitting my 6 years clean and sober, and I was doing amazing at a job, and I had a beautiful little 5-year-old girl, and um, and then all of a sudden this guy came walking into my life, and I just tossed her to the wind, and I bent my own morals and values because I was in, I convinced myself that like I'm never gonna win at life if I keep playing by my new morals and values that like were apparently too much for people around me who were saying that I was acting like I was better than them. And like I feel like I'm just like a damned if you do, damned if you don't, and I'm gonna keep talking about it because I'm still not feeling like whatever it is that's happening behind the seems like I'm not feeling like it's been resolved yet. And like I have, like I've been digging and I found receipts about things, that like don't make sense. And, like all I can do right now is just keep at, like stacking it. And, like a picture is starting to appear, but it's really hard to want to like admit to myself like what that means, and so I'm I'm sad. Um, but even though I'm sad, like I still have a determination and a fire within, like I want to make sure that my kids are safe and that they don't end up falling into the same kinds of things. And so I, like I have really dug my feet in and rooted myself because I am not going to go anywhere. Like, I am not giving up on my girls. I am so mad at myself, and I will have a self-hatred forever for running away from myself. Like, I can't go back and change that. So I have to just, like, keep moving forward and, like, never let myself do that again. So that's what I do, like, I just keep going forward. And when I'm faced with people in situations that don't make sense, but they really are familiar, like those kinds of like not making sense things are, like familiar, and like one of those things that that pops up still to this day is when and I think that's something that's happened that's like stirred things up, but until like when I was a young adult, men would stop and they would be like, the stars in their eyes, he was so familiar, like, like, and then, like, it happened, and, like, it started happening again, um, like, and there was a big change, when I was in recovery, it was really nice, and I got used to that life, and, like, I don't know if it was because of my ex-husband or what, but then started, doing that again. I don't know if he posted videos of me cheating, but like it just keeps happening, and it's weird. And to talk about it, it sounds like a crazy person. And today I took my kids to the doctors, and she saw it, and it bothers me. Like I don't. What is happening? Like why? Why do men look at me like I'm a celebrity? And and and, and tell me that I look familiar? Like it's creepy. It's really creepy. I don't like it. And then for them to look at me like that when I have my daughter with me, like that's scary. It's really scary. And like I live in a world where my family doesn't like I told family members and they just like and like I'm not gonna say exactly who because like, you can't. And so then I hear a rumor that like people might be trying to like go after me for like defamation or something, and I'm like, shut up, dude. Like, no, like, there's no way. I'm like, how could all this be happening in one day? Like, what is, am I not crazy? Like, that's the thing. It's like, I may have little bits and pieces of crazy, but like, I, I'm not. And like, I have resources and I ask for help. And yeah, like over the last few years, like it's been really hard because, because of all of this stuff that's happened around my ex and parenting struggles, and it felt like there's been like smear campaigns, and all I could do was just stay strong, and I didn't feel safe going to meetings because that's where I met him. So I went to Celebrate Recovery, but then they started getting weird, like, so I had to stop, I had to like step away and for my own mental health, like it, if you live in a world where people don't know or don't want to believe what you're going through or what you went through, like, uh, it's really hard. And, like, I know that, usually when I share these things, I've found that I help people, and I don't share these things because I expect people to, like, be like, oh, like, I really don't. I don't want anybody to be like, oh, like, I want for people to know that I'm a good person, and I'm loving, and I'm kind, and I work really hard to be a loving, kind, good person. And I'm not gonna stop speaking up for what's right. Like, I'm not gonna stop. So what are you doing? Why are you like? I'm not. What is happening? Like, if I'm not saying something about you as an individual, then why are you? What are you doing? Why are you treating me like this? I don't understand. And I'm not gonna sit around and just and like wonder. I don't do that. Like, I mean, I do, but the me, like the me that lived through all the things I lived through in addiction, that somehow walked away from things that were literally supposed to kill me. That me, I don't do that. And then I did it for a long time because I was broken because everybody freaking left me. And then I'm like, it's all my fault because that's what they told me. So it took a while. And so right now in this moment, I'm feeling emotional. I'm feeling emotional because I'm thinking about that man at the doctor's office. But like, what is that? What is that? Like, I go through life and I shine those things. I have a tough skin for creepy guys. I don't have a tough skin for people who are supposed to have empathy and compassion. When people who are supposed to have empathy and compassion turn their backs on me, I break. And so I'm out here just trying to make sure that I don't fall into people, places, and things that will take me away from my girls and away from my son, my adult son. Like, I might not be the mother of the year, like, but I'm still their mother, and like, I don't know what I did to earn to deserve the treatment that I've gotten. It's so inconsistent, which is like, I know I the crazy thing is, like, I will say something and certain people get really defensive, and I'm like, wait, I wouldn't ever be speaking about you. Like, what the heck? What? And then it makes me think, like, okay, like, okay, I get it. Sometimes I get, because of abuse and stuff, like, I'll think, like, oh my gosh, they're gonna think that's me, because that's what he is always saying. And so I always hold that whenever I see somebody's reaction is off. Like, I don't just jump to conclusions. I just hold it, and it's gonna take like a stack. And the more I love someone, the bigger the stack is gonna has to be for me to find acceptance that that's really what's happening. And so it's like, I've gone for years of choosing peace, years of choosing, to focus on the positive and focus on, but there's this thing that happens when you as an individual who's worked really hard to build a network of people to support you, like when all of a sudden, it's just not, like, people are not responding to you the same, or like people are looking at you like you did something. You're like, what is happening right now? Like, I thought that this was like sanity. I thought this place was supposed to be like, where sane people are. Like the people in recovery, we're like the ones that did the steps. We worked the steps, we took our own inventory. Like, what happened? And so, like, a there's a bad side to that, and that is when someone has done all the steps and taken their inventory, but like chooses to take on more than that's their responsibility because it makes it easier. Then you don't have to really like look at that other person that way. Like you can be like, well, I'll just own it. I'll find acceptance for myself. I can find forgiveness for myself. I don't have to look at them that way anymore. And then it, like this um, dissonance where you just kind of create a little partition and you like put that over there and okay, like I'm gonna live in this world that we've created, this society's agreement that this is how it goes, and I tried that. For a while, and like I got in recovery, and I was like, okay, like I'm a normal person now, basically. I don't do drugs, and like I can separate these ideas, and I can uh, but yeah, um I don't know, like in 2015, and I met my ex-husband, like it's just crazy because I'm like, okay, like all of the pieces, like, is that why people say I'm crazy? Like, is there actually a crazy plot? And so it's like one of those plots. It's like if she says anything, then we could just say she's crazy. Like, I don't know, like sure stuff happens out there. It's like you get to a point as an individual where it's like, what's really happening, you guys? And then you get to a place where, like for me, I've got to a place where it's like, okay, like, you know, I I want to make sure that I'm well. I want to be using tools to make sure I'm well. So if I continue to push that aside, not really being well. So, I need to face things, especially when men are giving me the heebie-jeebie crazy freaking scares again. So, you know, I, I mentioned stuff to my family because they're my family, and then, but now I'm like, where, what am I supposed to do next? Like, I'm, I'm not like a, so what I think, like, I wonder if, like, because I'm speaking up and speaking out in this setting, if there are people who think that I'm, like, going about legal means to, like, do something. And then, which is, like, scary, that's, like, does that mean that they're going to do something to try to, like, I don't know. Like, I just want to live in a world where I could be a mom with my beautiful daughter and take her to the freaking doctor and not get totally freaked out, and wonder, like, why? Like, why, and unfortunately, I've come to a place where I'm like, okay, my daughter, who's almost 16, I should probably clue you in, because I don't want for you to be targeted. Like, I don't want, like, I'm really worried about that. I'm really worried that a lot of the stuff that I've been through has been chaos, uh, purposeful chaos, to take me away from my ability to, like, pour into my daughters. And I'm so mad at myself, because I'm like, why couldn't I have stopped freaking crying? Why couldn't I have stopped feeling so, like, sorry for myself? Why couldn't I have just stopped? Why? And I'm so mad at myself, and I'm like, I don't, I don't know anymore, like, how much of it is my fault and how much of it isn't. And I just know from experience of being in recovery that the way you find out is talking about it. And yes, okay, I've had tons of therapists, I've done, yes, okay. But there's a point where it's like talking to myself and talking to my therapist isn't going to get me the answers. Like, they're not going to get me the answers if there are people out here in this outside world who know things or could help me in a way that a therapist would not be able to. Because really, a therapist is going to be like, what do you, like, want to talk about tools and want to talk about healthy thinking. I know that. That's not my issue right now. My issue is not help me figure out how to deal with this thought. Okay, that's what counseling's for. I know how to deal with the thought. Okay, it's invading my life. Like, like, that's the difference. It's like putting my blinders on, being in denial, and like pretending like, oh no, everything's fine, and that's not real, because look, I had all this recovery, and but like, no, I don't think that's right, and so it is making me mad, because I'm like, how many other mothers out there are going through this, or fathers for that matter, like, how many other moms are sitting there with their babies, looking at seeing some guy, some creepazoid, looking at them and having a secret, because they know what happened to them when they were kids, and having a husband, and knowing that they never want to tell their husband, like, how many other women out there are dealing with that? Like, what do you expect them to do? Sorry, what do you expect them to do? Think about it. There's a mom, a young mom, and she's got a baby. There's some creep that's looking at her and smiling. And she knows, because it's not the first time it's happened. She also knows to keep her mouth shut. And she's got a husband that she loves and a child that she loves. But like, what do you expect is going to happen in a world where it's only guilt and shame? What is supposed to happen? Tell me. You know? I know. And I don't wanna like give you the answer. You know? I'm mad because we're living in a world where there are millions and millions of freaking images out there. But everybody acts like nobody knows where it's fucking coming from. Oh, but there's stories about family members and cops and freaking teachers, and but like, nope, nobody in our town. What is that? And then this is the most wicked part, okay? The people who are the predators, okay? They know they're the predators. And when you've got somebody that you have chosen to be your prey or whatever, like, are you going to just let them grow up to be a healthy adult? Like, is that how it works? Because that doesn't seem like that's how it works. It seems like they're not allowed to grow up to be healthy adults. You know how many women I've talked to in the hospital, in jail, when I would go visit, or even when I was in jail? How many women have been exploited? Gee, isn't that that's just so crazy. Whoa. What a coincidence that these women ended up being drug addicts. You know, we have this thought that, oh, well, it's just because they want to numb. Well, you know, is it possible that those drugs were available when they were young? Maybe. Maybe they were available when they were really young. And maybe that was on purpose. Okay? So, like, here's the thing. If anybody in my family, wink, wink, is feeling any kind of way, um, I'm going to tell you a little story, okay? I know I earned a reputation in my addiction, okay? And I did not argue. I didn't argue it. Nope, I did not. You know why? You want to know why? Because I needed it. I needed that reputation of being fierce. I really wasn't. Oh my god, my nose. I really wasn't as fierce as people would portray me to be, but that's okay. Like, really, honestly, my superpower is just being there. Like, honestly, like, all I do is just start asking questions. Like, I just ask questions, you know, and then the next thing you know, people are at each other's throats and things are falling apart, and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, well, guess I figured that out. Like, you guys just told on yourselves, okay. Like, that's my life, okay? So, when I start asking questions and people start panicking, I taught Amy today. I said, it's called looking for the ripples, okay? So just imagine you have a rock and there's a pond, right? You know there's alligators out there. What are you gonna do? Sorry, my nose. You know, like, well, what you do is you just toss the rock out into the pond, okay? You don't need to aim at anybody. You just toss that rock out there, baby. You know what happens? The alligator over there is gonna dip. You're gonna see some ripples. Alligator over there is gonna dip. You're gonna see some ripples. You're not looking for the alligators. You're looking for the ripples. Okay? Hi. I should probably teach this stuff. Okay? Like, I was in the wilderness for 7 years, and I had to learn how to live. And it's so sad that I recognize this pattern of me just being around somebody, like, you know, around faulty people, and then, like, just self-sabotaging, you know, and, like, to see it play out, you know, like, in my life outside of addiction. Like, I see the ripples, you know, and then when I see the ripples, I dig, and I start researching. You know, like, we have means, like, we can research things, you know, really easy, and nowadays, oh my gosh, y'all think that everything's anonymous. Oh no, it is not. Oh no, addresses, emails, all of it. You can do some digging. And so I'm like, what is happening right now? What are you guys doing? What are you doing? Why? And the thing is, like, I still, because of all of the conditioning I've been through, I still will hold on to that, like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, dude, I had to learn in the street. You're not wrong. Stop thinking you're wrong. Because, look, people are dying. Like, you know? And so, it's, you know, there's so many pieces, and I will never, ever, ever tell them all about all of the little clues that I found along the way, because that's my evidence, you know? And I feel like I'm in the middle of a war that nobody has told me. Nobody will tell me to my face. And that's like part of the psychological warfare. And it plays into the narrative like that they could fall on. Like, that's just crazy. And so I guess I'm just hoping that anybody who sees this, who knows my heart, will, stand by me. And um, I can't, I wouldn't want anybody who doesn't know my heart to, do that. But yeah, I just need, a little bit of support. Not a whole lot. I know I have God, and God's number one, and my kids and stuff, but that's, I can't tell my kids, not for them to support me in. So, yeah, but, yeah. So I'm here. I'm still me. I'm not a prostitute. I haven't been. Some part of me is like, it would probably make life a lot easier. I can't do it. I can't do it. Yeah. So I'm gonna be freaking broke. And this month, oh, let me tell you, I only got $250 because I didn't do the child support information. I didn't give information about absent parents on time, and so this is the second time they've done this to me. And so I only get like $500 anyway for my little welfare check, and so it just helps with my phone bill and stuff. But yeah, I got half of it. So am I gonna go prostitute? No, no. It sounds gross. No, I don't want to do that. And yeah, it's fine. And I don't want to be intimate with anybody for my own self or for money for nothing. Like, I know who went around and said that other people were prostitutes. And so it makes sense that that would be a rumor that person would choose to say. It doesn't surprise me. It surprises me that people might actually think it. I didn't think anybody would actually believe it. So, I'm not saying that anybody did. I have no idea, but um, I just find it sad. It's a sad state that we live in, that you know, people have to mind their own business. That they see stuff go down and they have to mind their own business because the people who are doing it are so messed up, they will target those people. And that's the world we live in. And I'm the dumbass. I'm the crazy one who will speak up. And so I'm hoping that maybe, like, somebody will speak up for me. You don't have to, like, always speak the truth. Please do not. Like, I don't want anybody trying to tell lies on me or for me. Like, that is not the energy. Um, yeah. Um, I hope that makes sense. I know, I cried. I had a snot bubble at one point in time. I am so sorry. Okay? I'm gonna go for it.